Recycles by Michael Elishan Ross, illustrated by Gustav Moore. Everything on Earth is always changing. Sometimes these changes repeat over and over in patterns called cycles. Soil circle. A little seedling sprouts in the shade of bigger trees. Its tiny roots reach down into the ground for nutrients and water, which help it to grow. At first, the seedling is no taller than a turtle, but each year it grows higher and higher until one day, 100 years later, it's a grand old tree. Children swing from its limbs. Birds build nests on its branches, and caterpillars dine on its delicious leaves. Every autumn, the tree drops acorns, which are eaten by the jays, squirrels, and deer. After many, many more years, the tree becomes old and weak. Beetles lay their eggs under the bark, and the young grubs munch on the living tree. Woodpeckers peck into the tree to find and eat the grubs. They make nest holes in the rotting trunk to raise their babies in safety. The old tree becomes weaker still, and soon mushrooms sprout from its trunk. The mushrooms are part of a fungus that eats the trunk and digests the mighty roots. One day, during a wild and furious storm, the old tree sways in the wind and then crashes to the ground. Before long, a city of tiny creatures appears inside the skeleton-like remains of the tree. Termites, beetles, and sawflies make tunnels as they feast on the wood. Slowly, after many years, the bugs and fungi take apart the tree. It becomes a mound of rotten wood that adds new richness to the soil. The nutrients from the old tree can now help other trees grow. One day, a tree seedling sprouts on the old tree's grave. Its tiny roots reach into the ground for water and nutrients, and soon it grows tall from the rich soil, water, and sunshine. One day, it will be a grand old tree that will then die and add a new richness to the soil. One day, it will complete the soil circle. Decomposition facts. Moisture and warm temperatures make a tree decay faster. Soil is made up of a combination of minerals, dead plants, and dead animals. Millions of insects can live in a dead tree. Water cycle. Out of the sky falls a little drop of water. It lands on a leaf and drips to the ground. It joins other drops, and together they trickle into a stream. Gurgling and splashing, they glide over pebbles and rocks. Like a silver snake, the stream slides to the sea. The drop is now one tiny part of the big, salty ocean. Each day, water drops evaporate and disappear into the air as they change to water vapor. One day, the sun's rays heat up the drop until it also changes to vapor. The little drops float up into the fluffy clouds where it joins more droplets. When the droplets of vapor become chilled by cold air, they begin falling as raindrops. This time, the water drop falls into a dirty puddle on a school playground. That very afternoon, the heat of the sun changes that drop to vapor, and once again it floats up to the sky to join a cloud. Later, it falls again as snow high in the mountains and doesn't flow back to the ocean until the next spring. Year after year, the drop cycles from earth to air, from dirty water to clean vapor. Each day, water drops ride the never-ending water cycle. Water facts. Most of the water on Earth is found in the oceans and is salty. The average-sized tree can release 100 quarts, 95 liters of water a day through its leaves. Most of the water on Earth has been around for billions of years. Hungry compost pile. Nature recycles water and soil. You can recycle too. You can take used cans, paper, and plastic to a recycling center where they can be processed to make new products for people to use and recycle once more. You can even recycle some of your kitchen and yard waste. Max and Julia have a big pile in their backyard where they put banana peels, apple cores, eggshells, bread crusts, leftover rice, old leaves, grass clippings, and other stuff that will turn into soil. It is called a compost pile. The compost is alive with worms, roly-polies, and other little creatures. Millions of bacteria, which are tiny creatures too small to see, live in the compost and quietly dine on the leftovers from the kitchen and garden. Max and Julia add dry leaves to keep the compost pile from getting smelly. They add water to keep it from getting too dry. As the critters munch the stuff in the pile, they create a rich fertilizer called compost. It's like the rich humus from the forest floor. Week after week, Max and Julia feed the pile, and within a couple months, they have compost to feed their garden. The compost helps the cucumbers, peas, and watermelons to grow big and healthy. After Julia and Max eat the cucumbers, peas, and watermelons, they feed the peels, pods, and rinds to the compost pile. Gardens feed compost, and compost feed gardens. That's another cycle. Compost tips. Don't put meat or bones in compost. They will attract animals. Keep the compost moist, but not soggy. Start a compost pile by mixing kitchen waste, dry leaves, and a little garden soil. Thank you so much for listening to Recycle with me, Rachel Hirsch-Brooks.